hiring scooters in Thailand, which I'm sure is a subject close to many people's hearts when they are looking at coming on holiday to the island of Phuket. Well, of course, if you're coming out to Phuket on holiday, you may want to visit the various sites and see the different places in and around the island of Phuket. But today we're going to be looking at scooters. Now, scooters are one of the biggest things in Phuket that people mainly hire due to the cost. They're cheap to run, it doesn't cost you a lot to get around the island, and to be honest, they're a great way of seeing the island, having some fun. However, there are a few things that you should know if you intend to come out to Phuket and hire a scooter like the one that I'm sitting on today, which is the Honda PCX, which in my opinion makes the ideal scooter for hiring if you want to see the island of Phuket and you are interested in hiring a scooter. Now, of course, there are a lot of different scooters available out there. Honda themselves do the PCX, they do the Click, they do the Zoom, quite a lot of different scooters they do, and of course they do larger motorbikes as well. And then again you have Yamaha and Suzuki, they all have their own sections within scooters and motorbikes. My experience is on the Honda PCX. It's quite a large scooter, not overly large, but it's a little bit larger than the Click, which means it's got a little bit more space for storage. It's a little bit more comfortable, shall we say, than the Click. I find it a better scooter all round. I have ridden the Click. I used to hire Clicks many years ago, and they are a great scooter, but so are the PCXs. Now, the reason why I think the PCX is quite suitable if you are a couple, these are 150cc scooters, so there's enough power really to take you anywhere that you need to go on the island, and even outside of the island that you can see from some of my videos. I've visited Koh Lant, I've also visited Koh Samui on the PCX as well, so they can travel quite a distance in reasonable comfort. A few things that you should know before hiring a scooter, and that is quite important and really something that you really need to consider long and hard before hiring a scooter. And the one thing that I'm going to talk about here is licenses. A lot of people come over to the island of Phuket and unfortunately hire scooters without the correct license. Whilst that is entirely up to the individual, and I have no comment on this, but I would strongly recommend not doing this, because basically it's of course illegal, but the main issue that you have is by hiring a scooter without the correct license, you don't have any insurance. Whilst you may get stopped at a checkpoint, and yes, it's commonly known that the fines are only small out in Thailand for driving without any license, and if you get stopped by the police, they will issue a small fine. And a lot of people think, well, I'm not bothered about a small fine, I'm on holiday, who cares? Now, okay, you're not bothered about the fine, that's up to you. But the one thing that you should take very seriously is you will not have any insurance. If you are for any reason involved in an accident, be it your fault or not, no travel insurance will cover you, and the insurance that came with the scooter will also be void as well. You are not going to be covered for any expenses, either damage to the motorbike, damage to other people's property, motorbikes, etc. Obviously any injuries to yourself and other people. Now, medical care in Thailand is quite expensive. Even a relatively minor injury can be expensive. If you need to go to a hospital, it can cost quite a lot of money. And if, shall we say, you are involved in a more serious accident, then the costs can quickly escalate. So this is something that I would strongly recommend against. If you don't have the correct license, then please do not hire a scooter. Look at hiring a car if you have a car license. If you're going to come out to Phuket, then it would be advisable to make sure you have the correct license. The licenses are not the same over here as they are in other parts of the world. Now, some countries you can drive a scooter on a car license. In Thailand, you cannot do this. You need to have a full motorbike license, and this is mainly because you will find most of the scooters on the island are above 100ccs. The PCX that I'm sitting on today is 150cc, so you need a full motorbike license, and that means on your car license you need a category that allows you to ride full-size motorbike. basically a motorbike, not a scooter, a motorbike. And this is one of the main issues that you will find with people coming over to Phuket. They're not quite sure about the licensing, and they believe that they can hire a scooter because they're only a scooter on their car driving license, and they will be covered. Now unfortunately you won't. The other thing I need to mention is to go along with your full driving license, whether it be for a car or motorbike, you will also need an international driving permit. This is something you need to get from your own country before you come out. I've watched some videos and I've read some articles online that says that Thailand does not recognise any other licenses apart from Thai licensing. I'm certainly no expert on Thai law, so I'm not going to say I am. I have had a quick look at the law section with regarding to driving vehicles in Thailand, and it does list, I think it's 21 countries that Thailand has an agreement with that you can use a foreign license when coming on holiday to Thailand to drive a vehicle out here, whether it be a scooter, a motorbike or a car. There are, I think it's 21 countries, I may be wrong, there may be a few more, there may be a few less. This is something that you need to investigate and have a look to make sure that they recognise your particular country and your licence, and you need the international permit to go along with your licence, and what that allows you to do is to use your driving licence in a foreign country legally. So my best advice is, if you're planning on coming out to Phuket, check that your driving licence is recognised over here. You will need a copy of your driving licence in English. Now, to be honest with you, my driving licence is in Thai and English. If you're coming out here and it's not already in English, it may be worth having a copy of it translated into Thai. In my opinion, this would be even better than English, because there's no reason why they shouldn't recognise your licence if it's a valid licence for the appropriate vehicle, and you're allowed to drive that vehicle out here because the country is recognised. There is no reason, if that has a translation into Thai, that they can't recognise that licence. Maybe if you get stopped somewhere in the middle of nowhere with a translation in English and the officer doesn't read English, maybe he will decide he's not going to recognise it and fine you for it. I can't speak for every single police officer in Thailand. I don't want to go into too much detail as regarding this area because, of course, I'm no expert on Thai law, and this area is, so we should say, a muddy area. It's not very clear. The rules and regulations are not crystal clear, but I can only talk about my personal experiences. I can't talk about somebody that's reportedly said that they've been stopped by the police, they've had all the correct documents, but they've still been fined. Now, my personal experience is I've been stopped by the police many times at checkpoints, and I've never been fined when I've had all my correct documents. I'll give you an example that I'm being truthful rather than always just saying that. I did quite a long trip to Savannakhet, which is in Laos, from Phuket on my big CC motorcycle. This was done last year. Now, I have insurance, the full license, etc. And on the way there, I was stopped at a checkpoint and fined because, not because of my licenses, they checked all my documentation and they couldn't find anything wrong with my documents. I had modified the position of my number plate on my large bike to a different position from the original position that it would have been when it left Kawasaki's factory. And it is in Thai law, if you read the law, that if you modify a vehicle and it's outside those permitted requirements, then you are liable for a fine. So the guy that checked my bike over decided he wasn't happy with my number plate and he issued me a fine. Now, off the top of my head, I think it was only a small fine. I think it was 200 baht. They completed the paperwork, I paid the fine, and I was on my way. So I got fined for that. The position of the number plate was, you know, what you could call, okay, it'd been modified so it might not be allowed. Later, during that trip on the way back, I got stopped at another checkpoint. And I thought, oh, here we go, I'm going to get fined for my number plate. And sure enough, they checked all my documentation, and I could see the officer that had stopped me was looking at my number plate. And I hadn't said anything, because obviously I'd been fined 3 or 4 days beforehand. So I never mentioned it to the officer. I could see him looking. It just so happened that whilst he was standing there sort of weighing up whether it was illegal or not, I presume his superior came over, and obviously they had a bit of a conversation, and I presume the superior was asking him what the problem was. His superior took one look at it and just went, no, that's fine, that's perfectly okay, handed me all my documents back and said, on your way, no fine. So the problem that you have out here is, depending on who you get stopped by and their perception of the law, you may be fined, you may not. So you may have all the correct documents, and the officer, for whatever reason, is still not happy and he wants to fine you. Now, of course, this you could call unfair treatment, and you can appeal this decision if you're not happy with it. Most of the time, they're small fines. So, I mean, again, I can only talk about my personal experience, not others. I've never been in that position, so I don't know whether it would be worth doing that or not. To be honest, that is down to the individual and how strongly you feel about it. All I can say is I have been stopped many times, both in Charlie, on the PCX and on my motorbike. They have checked my licenses and let me on my way with no fines, because I've been wearing a helmet, I've had all the correct documents, and this is many times. The only times that I've been stopped and fined as that incident that I've just told you about with the number plate. Now, I knew the number plate had been moved, and I knew it was in a position that, okay, it wasn't clearly visible. You could see it. I could look at the bike and say, yeah, I could read that, but it wasn't as clear as it could have been, shall we say. So, okay, their perception of the law, that particular officer that fined me, he wasn't happy about it, which is a fair comment at the end of the day, and that's it. I can't argue with that, because at the end of the day I had moved the position from original, so I had no argument to really stand up. Now, of course, I can't comment on everybody's experience because I'm not there, so I don't know the situation, I don't know the circumstances. All I can comment on is my own personal experiences. The interpretation of Thai law always comes down to the individual officer, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is here. If you're coming out on holiday to Thailand, it's one of those things you're going to have to accept. As I say, each officer is going to interpret the law slightly different, shall we say. It's not black and white out here like it is, say, in the UK or America or something like that. The system isn't quite the same out here. There are benefits to that, and there's also, of course, disadvantages. Now, if you have the correct license, scooters make a fantastic way of getting around to see places in Phuket. Of course, you can take in the sights, you can stop at your leisure. It's a lot easier travelling, I find, on scooters. Personally, I prefer motorbikes. As you probably know from my channel, I've not only got the PCX, which is of course my wife's bike. We have Charlie, the sidecar and scooter, which I absolutely love. Now, that is not a fast machine by any means. It's 100 cc's, and it really struggles most of the time going places, but it's great fun. And of course, then I have my much larger motorbike, my Kawasaki 1000cc, which I love to bits and I try to use on a Sunday. Personally, I have a motorbike license, which is a Thai motorbike license. I took my test over here some time ago because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any insurance issues with living out here. I want to be sure that if, God forbid, I should have an accident, whether it be my fault or somebody else's, that I have insurance, and that will cover me not only for injuries to myself and the people, but also my bike, etc. Secondly, I want to talk about helmets. Now, helmets in Thailand are law, and I would strongly recommend, if you are going to hire any sort of scooter, motorbike, whatever it be, even a sidecar and scooter, I wear my helmet. I know people probably think, well, why? Because it doesn't go fast enough. Now, I know what people are going to say is they see a lot of people riding around the island with no helmets, and yes, it is a fact, especially the Thai people. I don't know why they choose not to wear a helmet. It is law over here. That at the end of the day, it's everybody's own choice, but I would recommend you wear a helmet. If you have some sort of accident where you come off the motorbike, scooter, and you hit your head on the ground, it is going to hurt. Even if it's a relatively slow accident, it is still going to hurt if you bounce your head off the tarmac. It's not going to be a pleasant experience. Now, your head doesn't heal as easy as some other parts of your body, so my honest opinion is wear a helmet. It's common sense, it's good practice. You would have to do it in a lot of other countries, or you would be facing heavy fines, possibly bans, etc. If you're coming from a country where you wouldn't even think twice about not wearing a helmet, then do the same here. Just because you see other people not doing it, do not become in that attitude, because one of the biggest killers over here in accidents is people that have been riding motorbikes or scooters without helmets. So my best advice would please, if you're going to hire a motorbike, hire a scooter, wear a helmet. The shop should supply you with a helmet. If they don't, they're relatively cheap to buy here. In fact, you can buy a helmet out here for around a few $100. That's how cheap they are. It's better to have something than nothing, in my honest opinion. As you can see, I have a helmet here that I wear on the PCX. I normally wear an open face on the PCX and on Charlie. A full face is better. Full face I use on my big bike. Anybody that's seen any videos will have seen that I don't wear an open face helmet on that. Obviously I'm going faster. If I should have an accident, the damage is going to be more serious. Of course, I wear more protection on my larger bike. Better to have some protection than no protection. If the very least, wear a helmet. That's all I can say. Well, as always, I hope you have found the video useful and informative, and if so, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Any questions or comments you can post in the section down below. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.